Right, 11 October 2025, and today I've got more breaking news. So as we're sitting here with my brother, Divine Mafa, we've had some very interesting news, and that is the coup that has been announced in Madagascar. So the army of Madagascar has just announced the takeover right now, less than 1 hour ago. They've announced a takeover, and the news is just spreading as we speak. So let's see if we can find you that footage of the coup in Madagascar. So this is the announcement being made.
Rivoaka Malagasy tsy vaky volo. Ny voalohany dia mampiseho fiarahamonina amin'ireo fianakaviana namoy.
So this is significant because this is the SADC chair. Madagascar is the SADC chair, and this coup is shocking because it means the SADC chair has just been taken out through a coup, and this is shocking.
Diavana mandeha amin'ny laony noho ny tsy fisian'ny rano jiro izay zo fototra tokony hananany vahoaka. Ny fidiram-bola tsy zarizary satria zara raha mahita ny tanora malagasy. Ny kolokolo sy ny fanodinana ny harem-pirenena nefa mitombo ary miseho amin'ny fomba isan-karazany. Ary izay dia maro ny gasy maty voatifitra, ao ny naratra, ao ny very sy todika fananana noho ny fandobana nataony ireo tsy mataho-tody. Eo fivoany izany rehetra izany dia manesika managadra mandratra ary misy mihitsy aza mitifitra no ataontsika tany filamina. Ivangomba eto Antananarivo ireo miatsy fa hiaro l'olo fa tsy hiaro ny vahoaka. Hany ka tsy hitatsika, oditsika tsy hita ny asan-dahalo any na miaramila amin'ny asan-dahalo. Ny voreto daholo nefa ny zandary sy ny miaramila. Ny mampalahelo nefa dia tsy miraha ny momba antsika miaramila ireo lehibe. Fa ina zany.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that coup in Madagascar. As you can see, I'm with my brother here, Divine Mafa. We're just waiting to go live on our topic, and suddenly that coup took place in Madagascar. It's unbelievable what has happened. Madagascar is the SADC chair, and SADC plunged into chaos. Right now, as we speak, SADC will be scrambling to see how they can fix the situation in Madagascar. The cause of this issue is a wide range of problems. Many young people have been killed after the elections, and you saw the handover by Mnangagwa over there at Madagascar when the elections were held. So this coup is shocking, but it was expected that the army would step in after months and months of problems. So I think you can follow this story over there on many other platforms. It's breaking right now internationally. That is the coup in Madagascar, which is the SADC chair. So I think that is enough for now. We'll cover this later. Let us continue what we're discussing. And my brother Mafa, you were just giving us an update on how you discovered and designed Bitcoin. Please go ahead. I'll carry on with this story later. Just take us through what you're saying.
Thank you, Brother Gambakwe. So one of the issues we have had is the lack of recognition for African innovators for many years, and the theft of intellectual property, and then literally dismissing African Black innovators as incompetent, having low IQ and unable to think beyond practical issues. Now, did I specifically quote Bitcoin? We'll get into that as to the entire history from A to Z. It was in 2007, when we started a business in Memphis, Tennessee, and the economy crashed severely globally, and there was a need to make lives better for people, to develop a system that recognized money to be sound money. And in the process of that, this is a very exciting development in Madagascar. And Bitcoin fixes most of these problems. Economy. As we see most government do print money and continue to print it, it causes the economy to crash, as we have also witnessed in many countries, from Germany in the 1940s, when they printed lots of money. And in Zimbabwe, of course, we are accused of having printed lots of money. In Somalia, we still see wheelbarrows of money being pushed in order to buy a loaf of bread. So in 1997, 2007, I built a clothing store because understanding, I realized that people would always want to dress up, and it was a way of providing employment to many people. And I used to bring bands every Friday in front of my clothing store, Divine Rags, and they would play guitar, and we would give them money as an incentive. So we used to call the process, beats, from the Michael Jackson Beat It album, because it was one of my beautiful album. I used to love that. So we called it BEATS, and because we were tipping, and people were only tipping them in coins, in quarters. There was nobody really putting solid money that could support the musicians to eat. So therefore, the name Beats and Coins then was evolved and developed. But in the process, we then wanted to improve a coupon system that would allow people to actually benefit and spend it. So I started designing a marketing strategy of coupons where people would pay they would get a 25% discount at the clothing store. But in the process of doing that, I realized people were not really interested in coupon. People wanted money, and money was very scarce. So then I came into the idea of, what if we develop money in a coupon form, right? So because I had seen fake United States dollars being passed around, and many people were either being arrested passing those fake United States dollars, or they were these monopoly money that they were using to pass around. So the next stage of my thought process was, well, let me go to the bank. My bank, which was First Tennessee Building Society, there was a lady named Della Franklin. She was my personal manager, who had also worked with me in other business deals. So she says, you know what, put 100,000 as a surety, and we'll give you certified checks. We'll give you checks. So those who know what is called a cashier check, when you get a cashier check from a bank, it's clearly certified, and if you present it to someone, it is considered money. Immediately you spend it and you can pass it on. But normally you can take it to the bank and you can get it cashed right in the instance. So the next stage was, the bank had started to authorize people to print their own checks at that particular time. So you go in, if you know your check number from check 10,000, you could print your checks. You could write your own checks to your own employees, so long you have the correct account number and you have the correct check number, and it can be serialized. So we started our checks from 10,000 and so forth. Going forward, we want a very big number. And the beauty of our money, then we ended up putting people like Elvis Presley, our legends who were born and raised in Memphis. Martin Luther King died in Memphis. So we started to think about, who could we put on this money? So we had students, artists, to design and come up with a method of saying, it's a very advanced coupon system, but it must work as money. at the same time. So because I had been involved in a technology system like the satellite digital systems, I understood that information moves in bits. So because we had the bands coming in, enjoying the money and playing the guitar, the beats and the coins. So I had to upgrade my system to BITS or BIT, which is bit, which is the 00 code of moving things on the internet. Everything moves in terms of digits, like 000 and so forth. So I then said, okay, so since now we are designing a coupon, we can't call it BEATS, we're going to call it BIT coins. So bit and coins. So then we have our picture of a celebrity like Elvis Presley, $5 or $100, and then the picture of the celebrity, and we would sell the money for maybe $3 to a customer, and the customer comes to the store and says, I want to buy something that is like a dress in the store. And then we would say, look, here is a $5 coupon, but it's actually money. But in order for you to get this $5, give me $3. And immediately from the $5, they are so excited. Oh, this is Elvis Presley. They use that money to buy, and they benefit the $3 difference, the $2 difference. But in the process, they would say, well, can I just keep it? So they were no longer really interested to spend it because it's spendable money. And it started moving around. And then some of the money would be sent to Canada by email, because I realized we needed to reach many people throughout the world. So many of our customers were coming from Canada a lot. So we could send some of the bit and coins through the email to someone in Canada. And so the idea then to say, well, it is not digital. You didn't code it as the way the second Satoshi did. So what I say is, I'm Satoshi number one, because I wasn't talking about a tractor. I was talking about a car, or I was talking about money. So if I'm talking about money, and even though you might call it a coupon, so you see, they try to dismiss it and say, well, it's like somebody is got a horse and a cart, or a donkey and a ngoro, right? You are pulling a horse and a cart, but then somebody says, I'm going to remove the horse and put a motorbike. But your motorbike gets stuck at the river. You can't cross, and it breaks down there because you haven't really fixed it. And then you are stuck there. Then you change your story, and then you say, well, it's now a store of value. So those who understand, Bitcoin was invented to be a peer-to-peer electronic cash. But the problem is it takes almost 4 hours before somebody buys something and before the settlement arrives to the shopkeeper or whoever you are spending it to. So the problem with that system is that it is so slow, it doesn't work. So while they liked the idea, stole the idea, developed it, it never became what it was. It became a motorbike, it became a scotch cart with a motorbike stuck at the river, couldn't cross. So now they call it Bitcoin is a store of value, because it cannot work as a peer-to-peer digital currency. Ours was working, mine was working. It was being spent by prostitutes, by homeless people, going in to get lunch, lining up. People were respecting it. You can go and cash it at the bank. You can get your money if you want. There was no need, because people started to pass it on. Hairdressers, people who wanted to use the money. And it could be emailed, it could be taken a picture, because we were verifying it using the serial number. So the whole system that then Satoshi does is use the serial numbers and call them hash. Use the photos and then call them non-fungible tokens. If you send a picture through the internet, it is already digital. So what we have is the lack of this recognition to say who was first in service to use Bitcoin, to create the idea of Bitcoin. Now, if you have somebody who then says, I want to make your system better and make it modernized, that is not the same as saying you created it. You came after and then took the concept of money that was already working and then just digitized it, put it on the ledger. We were able to audit how much money was out there, how much money has been cashed at the bank, and how much money is still out there. So it didn't matter. So same as Satoshi, where unfortunately the Satoshi number two, his money, everybody can really trace how much money is still there, which people sometimes don't want you to know where they put their money at. So we still had a sense of privacy in our money, a set of pseudonymity, which Satoshi says he likes. I agree with it. And I respect that, because that's why I never really fought the idea when Satoshi took the idea and improved it. So I would not necessarily say, well, he created it all. He improved an idea that was already there, that we were already working with. I met several times with University Memphis professors to actually think on how can we put it on the digital ledger? How can we make it easy so that this idea can spread on a global way? And unfortunately, Satoshi did it privately. We don't even know who he is, which means he doesn't want to be questioned, and he does not want to be accountable about where he got the name Bitcoin from. He doesn't even want to answer, even when he was hiding, say, he will be killed by Donald Trump or by the American CIA. They will kill him for creating Bitcoin. But guess what? America right now plans to, they've already adopted Bitcoin. And I think if Satoshi is out there, he needs to come out and say, look, I'm out here, give me my award, I created Bitcoin. But he doesn't do that because he doesn't want her to answer to the fact of where did he really improve his idea from? Because while he has improved the idea, his idea is exactly similar, because our idea is exactly similar to his, except that his does not have the velocity of moving the way our money was moving. Our experiment was very small, but it actually worked. The velocity was there and people trusted the money. It was a social experiment, which he forgot that he needed to engage people rather than sit behind a computer and think about stealing an idea and try to brand it as his. And no wonder why he's not there. So what we are now doing is filing United States Patent Office service so that we can take the rights of the Bitcoin, because they belong to me. And also the idea that now Bitcoin is now digital gold. Then I say, but what happens to gold in South Africa? What happens to gold in Zimbabwe? Does it no longer become digital? Because we already say gold in Zimbabwe is also, I can buy gold digitally. Now, if you trying to replace gold, which is what Michael Saylor, who is the CEO of MicroStrategy, who came yesterday and is pumping Bitcoin so that everybody can buy Bitcoin. He's actually advising President Trump to say, sell all the Bitcoin in the United States, sell all the gold in the United States, crush it so that the Russians will suffer, the Chinese who are buying gold will suffer, and everybody else who is buying gold. We now only want to use gold for producing electronic goods. It is no longer supposed to be used as digital money or as electronic cash or as a store of value, which gold can do all those things, right? Now, since we now have Zimbabwe gold as the currency of our country in Zimbabwe, my home country, we have a situation where if the idea of United States selling all their gold, it will crush the gold price to almost $15 per ounce, right? That means there will be joblessness in Zimbabwe because all the mines will have to shut down. There will be joblessness in South Africa. The catastrophic danger that President Trump has put countries that are mining gold and depending on gold and saving gold as a store of value will be put in a serious jeopardy. It's a question of national security for all the countries that depend on gold. Because if United States then comes in and say, sell all the gold and crush the gold price and put the money in Bitcoin, and force all the people to follow and put their money in a retirement scheme of Bitcoin, when in actuality only 2,000 wallets own 80% of all the Bitcoin in the world. That to me is a serious danger. And that is why I'm coming forward and I say, I need to get the intellectual property, the first use in service of the name Bitcoin, and the actual use, because when we were using Bitcoin, we were calling it bit and coins, Memphis currency. So we were not saying it was a currency. So a Bitcoin comes in and calls itself a currency developed by a person who's hiding, when there are articles, thousands of articles. There is an article that you could still pull up from the Northwest Airlines. They used to print these articles when you're riding an aeroplane, you read it. You would read about Divine Rex clothing store inventing bit and coins currency, right? Being able to help lives of ordinary people in Memphis, Tennessee. Is there. Memphis Flyer details how we created this. So then they ignore all those things because, you know, we are absolutely not smart as Africans. That's the quote unquote explanation they're giving. You see that even my friend Elon, he hardly has two people who are of color like me working for him. He hardly would talk to you, but he would put a backyard of air polluting products in the city of Memphis, Tennessee. So what we are saying is the idea of Bitcoin was born in Memphis by a Zimbabwean and African, and that, my friend, must be recognized. There was a functioning currency that was moving inside the internet to spend, to pay for goods, but we were not thinking about, do we need to make money as a store of value and say, well, don't use it and let it just grow and grow out of speculation that one day you can just sell it and be rich? Sure, some of us got in early because we liked it and we have amassed a serious amount of fortune. But does it take care of the ordinary person? Does it help people in India, in the rural areas? Does it help people in Amazon jungle? Does it help people in the Congo jungle, the pygmies? Everybody needs money. Money is already hard to find. Does it help people in Madagascar? That's why people feel they don't have food. There is a terrible amount of mismanagement by politicians who are now taking some of these monies and hiding it in Bitcoin, because they are lacking that accountability, because the way the system works, it is so cryptic that if you do not have these 12 key phrases, somebody can die and lose some of the money. I've lost some of the money because I lost some of the key phrases, and a lot of people have lost some of this money because they lost some of these key phrases. So the danger is that we end up locking most of the money inside the chain that is meant for developing the country. So there is that danger that we need the money to work. We don't need the money to be hiding, and then we call it, the greatest inventor is Satoshi, yet they don't explain that even the light bulb was invented by a black man. Even the cell phone that we are using today was invented by a black man. Even the first mathematical equation that took the first man to go to the moon, it would have not happened if it wasn't a black woman who was crunching it in Maryland. So what we are saying is, black inventors are sidelined. I should be sitting at the conference at least to say, look, that's where it really started in 2007, grit and grind in Memphis, when prostitutes were using the money, homeless people were buying, lining up to pay for free oysters at Pearl Oyster House, one of these restaurants in Memphis, which was right across the store. People spending it to buy flowers to get a little bit of discounts. It helped to grow the business. That's how my business was able to make $25,000 sometimes a day, because I had the capacity to market the business in that particular manner. I ended up moving the business to a place called Saddle Creek, one of the most elite places in Memphis. And as you know, my commercials ended up making it on national TV with over 3 billion views globally, including TV, YouTube, and readable channels. So what we are saying is Memphis was the original birthplace of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin wasn't a car, it was money. It was called bits and coins. It started coming from a word called BEATS, coming from the Michael Jackson Beat It album, because I was a big fan of Michael Jackson. And we switched it to BITS because I understood the technology of bits and the way language moves on the internet. And then we realized we are moving it in the internet, and that is clearly moving an impregnated digital value, a picture of a celebrity with value on it, and move it on the internet the way it is. Right now, when money moves on the internet, it comes in as digits. You only see $3,000. The way we were moving our money, you see the whole dollar, the whole picture. And it cancels out double spending, because the moment we send it to you, you must print it out. And we cancel it out here that you are the one now holding this unit. It was very easy to balance because I used to work in a bank. My first job, I worked at Beverly Building Society. I was a bank manager there. So I understood how to do reconciliation. You know, I was a top student in economics and accounting when I was in high school. So it was so easy for me to get in, assimilated in the banking system. So I wasn't surprised that I worked as a banker. And then I worked as a miner. I grew up in Kwekwe, and I used to work, and I worked in the combis when my mother was running Makombi. She had 12 combis before they stole the idea and brought it to the United States and called it Zim rides. And now they called it Uber, and it was also called Lyft. All these ideas, they came from Africans. Lyft is an idea from Zimbabwe. Uber is an idea from Zimbabwe. Many people are not proud of their own Jesus. They wait and they doubt. And I have people whom I talk to, they're like, oh, you know, he's gone wire. You know, I like it when people call me crazy. I don't mind, because I'm a crazy scientist. I've been always doing this. They call me crazy. I like it. It makes me fired up so that I can teach you a little bit more for the things that you don't know. So right now, I decided that I'm going to take the Bitcoin brand. I have invited very important people to help me to fight this. Ben Rutendo, I've invited him to come to the United States to help me make sure we start, because we're gonna have to fight for it. I'm getting death threats, all kinds of things. Right now, on the most important domain name, I have rights to Bitcoin mascot, and I also have rights to the Bitcoin.com website. I control those. It's being leased at the present time, and I'm gonna get it all back. So I'm gonna control all that stream, all that data, and we're going to make sure that Bitcoin should be an electronic cash, not a store of value. It should be a store of value as a secondary, not as the first right of its use. It should be what I envisioned, that Bitcoin must serve the ordinary people. I don't expect governments to be interested in Bitcoin. I don't want governments to be in Bitcoin. I just want the ordinary people to use it to send money different places and enjoy the ability of the freedom that it gives them. But when you see government and President Trump say he wants to be the crypto capital of the world, it scares me, because now he wants to control Bitcoin. It becomes a centralized money system. Our system was decentralized. Once we let the cat out of the bag, the money was flowing freely on its own without anybody controlling. Even now, all the money that I used to generate, which is 150,000 cash, which was printed out as certified checks with celebrities printed with their name. Somebody could call it analog, but we sold it under the value of the current US dollar. If it's $5, we sold it for $3, and then somebody benefits the actual $2 as a saving. If you bought $100 bill from, which is an Elvis Presley bill, you could benefit as much as $20 upfront, because you bought $100 bill and you get it for $80. When you go to the store, you already have, I mean, you know, they were spending now, encouraged to spend $2,000 because they're happy they got, you know, $100 bill and a $20 free gift. Now you could give somebody 25%, right? Or you could give them $25 less immediately for them to buy a $100 bill that they can use for only $75. So this was a very genius method that I created, that if you think about it, if I give you and I say, look, here's $100, but just give me $75 cash for it. But when you take this, it will make you go and spend it at any store at the same value, because it is a cashier's check. It's celebrity certified cash. That's what it was written on it. So people have sort of vilified, and you know me, Gambakwe, for the past 14 years, ever since Bitcoin came out, I've been saying the same thing. I never changed. I've been very consistent that this is my idea. Every day I've been dreaming to say, you know, I wish somebody could say now, somebody would say, well, you know, you always, you got claimed this, you claimed you did this, you did that. Well, these things are, it is what it is. Some people live their lives to just think of ideas. And I'm one of those people. I think of how to solve problems. That is my job. That is what God created me to do, to think on how can I fix this problem. And I could not just look at the internet and say, how is it that I'm able to send an email, but I'm not able to send money? How is it I'm able to send an email to Zimbabwe right now? You and I can talk together right now. But if I send you money, it will take you 3 days to get that money. You have to stand in a line, hours and hours standing in a line just to cash $20. And if you get that money, you're only spending, if I send you $100 right now through Western Union, you are only going to get $90. I mean, that's unfair, because if you are using Bitcoin, you should be able to get all your money and minus just 3 cents. You know, you could send $1 billion using Bitcoin and only get charged 3 cents to send $1 billion. Try that with a bank. You will not be able to send that type of volume. So right now we've developed a new platform while we are waiting to get the Bitcoin brand back to us legally, because I do not want to hurt anybody. I don't want to tell you to sell your Bitcoin or whatever, but I can tell you that those who understand my ability know that I do not lose when I put my mind to get what is mine. So I'm going to get this, and I'm putting everything together so that it is done right, because a lot of people could get hurt. So I'm being very careful that in the end, you must go to bitcoinmascot.com so that you can redeem yourself. For those who didn't get a chance to get Bitcoin early, the founder of Bitcoin is offering you another lifeline to get into something. But in this Bitcoin, I don't want suit and ties. I do not want rich people to come in and scoop all the shares. I do not want 2,000 wallets, all just belonging to 3,000 white people. Not that I'm saying that's a
all right, Divine, wait.
What I'm saying is,
Divine,
that is
wait.
the reality of Bitcoin at the present time.
Okay, wait. I want to ask you something before you go on. So I think let's stop there. Then next episode we go on Bitcoin mascot, because it will get confusing to people.
Right.
So now let's stop here, because I want to give people an update on what's happening in Madagascar.
No, that is why I do believe this is a very important topic.
So tomorrow we can do Bitcoin mascot, because I want people to understand what you just said, and I also want to unpack it and ask you questions. Let's do that tomorrow. Tomorrow we start with questions.
If you buy Bitcoin, you are betraying your African people, your people of melanated. I'm not saying anyone who's not melanated, and the poor people, you are betraying them. Blacks, they are the majority of the poor people. White trash, they're very poor. I got your back if you are white trash. I got your back. So
yeah, but that's for tomorrow. So let's talk about that tomorrow. So now let's deal with Madagascar. I would like to thank you for joining here. Let me give people an update, and then I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. All right, that's great. I think you've heard what Divine was saying about the history of Bitcoin, and I'll deal with that tomorrow. I'll ask him more questions. I didn't want to interrupt him today. So let's go into what has happened in Madagascar, and I'll unpack for you where the coup is right now. So the coup has happened. The president, who is the SADC chair, so this is very important. The chair of SADC has fled Madagascar. So that is the president of Madagascar, who was elected barely a month ago, has fallen to a coup, and he has fallen to a unit of the army. If you go to gambakwe.com, we have put all the details for you so that you can see, and you can watch me right there. So you don't even have to worry. You can go gambakwe.com. That is the story at the top. There is a unit that has carried out a coup. It has stopped taking orders, and that is called a mutiny. So let's go to gambakwe.com, and I'll show you the details of what has happened. And at the same time, you can be watching me over there. So this unit also got President Rajoelina into power in 2009, and Colonel Michael has led the coup. So Colonel Michael led the coup and joined protesters. And this is after the election led into the winning of President Rajoelina. And then President Rajoelina has faced the protests since September 29. So when he dissolved the government on September 29, you saw Mnangagwa over there handing over the SADC chairmanship. So this is extremely important because we're dealing with the collapse not only of the presidency, but the collapse of SADC. What this means is that South Africa is now going to be taking over as the SADC chair. From now, there is no chair of SADC. So South Africa is going to be taken over as SADC chair because they are next in line. So President Ramaphosa is going to automatically become the SADC chair. You are going to hear that announcement from SADC. And as I said last week, SADC has been very quiet about this matter of unrest in Madagascar. SADC is very slow to respond when things happen. And this has caused a lot of problems in our region. When something happens, when people are protesting, SADC does not act. They only act when everything has fallen apart. And this is what has happened. And as I said, you can go and check on gambakwe.com. The president of Madagascar, President Rajoelina, has fled either into the embassy of France, where he's a citizen. So he's a citizen of France. And therefore, he has fled into the embassy of France. So that is President Andry Rajoelina fleeing his office and fleeing his palace and going into the embassy of France. So this is amazing and shocking at the same time. But we are aware, and we are aware that this was going to happen. And this is crazy. So I think this is done. There's nothing else that I want to deal with this matter on. I've covered everything. That's all we know. The unit has obviously stopped taking orders. There was zero resistance to this unit. This unit is known for its powerful fighting. No one wants to fight these guys. So no one wants to fight these guys. If you try to fight these guys, it's at your own risk. So the moment they took over, everyone moved away and they've taken over. So let's look at how this is going to go overnight. It's going to be a trending story worldwide. But we here in SADC, the interesting and very important part is that he is the SADC chair. President Andry Rajoelina is the SADC chair. And South Africa is going to immediately take over as SADC chair because there is currently no president, and SADC cannot be led by a chairman in a country where there is a coup. So that means either Zimbabwe takes back the SADC chairmanship or South Africa takes over as incoming. And I believe that they are going to go with South Africa as the new SADC chair. So very, very dramatic day. This coup is announced. After this announcement you're seeing here, follows the unit going and following protesters on the street. And they were obviously led by Captain Michael. Captain Michael is the one that you're watching there. And as I said, President Andry Rajoelina fleeing into the French embassy, where he's a citizen of France. I think we've covered everything, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow at 5 a.m. and a good night to you all. It's been a long day to all of us.